Hi, everybody. I'm here again with Sarah Kajawa.
Hi.
Mwah. And we are going to talk about um, how to tap into your hidden abilities and what's involved in it. One of the things, would be your heart, and we're just going to run from there. We have mostly she has a lot of notes, but we're going to probably channel most of the way.
Yeah. Just doodle notes. Yes.
Okay. So you start, because this is what happened.
Okay.
When I sent Sarah a message and said, I want to talk about accessing our hidden abilities and what the heart has to do with it. The heart has something to do with it. And she was just spouting out things to me, and it was great. It was on point. So I'm going to let you run with what you were starting.
I can't remember exactly what I even said in your message last week, but our heart center is kind of like, this is where we connect to the universal knowledge. Okay, so that is kind of like, it's like our home plate. It's our safety zone where we can expand outward. And so many of us are walking around with so many hurts, traumas, other things going on. It keeps us more confined. And so we work on expanding our heart chakra. I call it cracking open. And so the death of my son was my major crack open. And to kind of get in there and do your life review, clean up your stuff, and see everything from a more healed perspective, and live your life from a more healed perspective, more of a 30,000 foot view. And that opens up your awareness. Some people are more, auditory learners. Some are, more of like a visual. You're a visionary, and I am too, strong with that. Some of us more like tactile, where we need to feel and experience and be doing things. Or some of us are all of it. Right? We can all reflect in our life, right? So it's kind of like getting there and expanding upon yourself, opening up your awareness, meaning being able to see other perspectives, broader perspectives. If you want to say it, God's plan, your soul's path, understanding how everything is always working out for our highest and best, that we are our worst sabotager. We're our own blocks, but we tend, most of us were raised to block, thinking that everyone out there was blocking us, that we weren't worthy, good enough, all that kind of stuff. We're not fitting in the mold of society. But as everything going on with COVID, we're finding out that this big jello mold was just a big, that we've got to really work through and expand ourselves and get out of that jello mold.
Yeah, it's like a reflect. Well, I just want to add on to that, because what you're talking about with the heart is right on point. And when I teach, I talk about, I go through all these things. I'm doing a workshop Sunday, to go through your blocks. But one of the things that my guides have always told me is that your power is in your heart. All your power lies in your heart. It's kind of like it is a portal. It's a portal. And I think it's a portal between, however you want to look at it, your soul and what you are here, or whatever you want it to be a portal to, if you want the honest truth. But right, that the heart is your seat of power, and we have to heal that. Yes, go on. So were you done with that?
So there's many methods and many ways to go about this. Most of you are doing this all day long. But if you're in a place of feeling yucky, judgmental, anger, frustration, all those lower energy feelings, there's just some things that's bubbling up. You've got some muck to clean up. So it's a process of going through that and recognizing it. What are those triggers, all those different things coming up, and then just becomes your new normal thing to do. Instead of sweeping everything under the rug, now you're cleaning. Now you're pulling up the rug and looking underneath and going, oh.
Yeah, and when you do this long enough, it's right away, because you're like, I'm not going to sit in this discomfort. I have felt the other side. Yes. I know what it feels like to be high vibrational. And when that crap comes at me, it's out right away. I'm not doing it. Yeah.
It's trying to get ahead of the storm, the dust storm, right? It's coming out from underneath the rug. Those dust bunnies we were talking about before we started. and knowing that everything is from a love, your heart chakra, everything is from a love. So we know that all the answer goes back to love. That's a high vibration, but it's very difficult when you're in a lower emotional place to see any clarity on anything. It's like talking, it's like having a friend call you who's just spewing all their stuff that's going on, and you give them advice, you know, and listen to them, but they may not be ready to hear any other direction other than replaying how they see it. So it's being able to expand and getting out of this view, you know, it's kind of like some kind of like, what are the cataract sunglasses, you know, the ones that have the blinders on the side. Like this. And then when you start opening up more and trusting it, you know, and having more blissful feelings, even if it's just for a few seconds, of feeling more oneness or connectedness to everyone and everything, then you can kind of hold that thought for a little bit longer and then realize, oh, this is bringing up something that I need to process and heal. Forgive usually is the big one, forgiveness.
Yeah. And a lot of times we forget to include ourselves.
Yes.
And that's the biggest forgiveness we need to give.
Right.
Because even if you fancy that, I don't know why I use that word, if you fancy that someone else did something to you and you forgive them, you let them do that, right? Because no one can take your power away unless you give it away. Yeah.
Usually it's a pattern. You can see it through our childhood of somehow we give our power away because that was our generation, my generation, right? You know, this generation now, people are having more of a voice, cleaning up their energy, you know, being able to express their hurts and their sorrows, but to be able to be more resilient and be able to flip that switch when it comes up. Because we all have a switch. Most of us go do the switch, right? Instead. So it's being able just to like kind of ride the waves of it, being on top of it. It's okay if you go underneath it and get sucked into something, whatever it's some political or whatever's going on, you know, with your family. But to know that, you know, if you know how to pull back up and go, I don't like this feeling, then that's obvious right there. That's not where you're supposed to be centered. Find out what it's causing so you can come back up, get some air. And then you're going to like it up there. So you want to be
And that's what motivates you to keep going, because it's a long journey. It's a long process. It's worth it. And, you know, you can control. I really feel like we're the ones that throw this stuff at ourselves. So you only throw it yourself as much as you can take at the time, right?
Right.
Even if
and it might not even be in order. So
I'm laughing because I've done cursed out all my, they're like, really? I've done cursed out all my guides, all the universe. Yeah. But even though I know I could handle that, yes, I do get that. And sometimes we do put what feels like a lot on ourselves to pull out. There's always a reason. And once you start going through it, you start to see the reason. And this is the way we move to using our innate abilities. They are our abilities.
And we've always had them. We were born with them.
Always.
It's a God-given ability, but most of us have been pushed down and taken on all kinds of loads of laundry on top of us. So we're getting rid of all that, saying, wait a minute, I need to be my authentic self.
Well, so I've knowingly had abilities my whole life. I've been pretty much awake, not fully, you know, you go back and forth, but even then you can't fully access or really, you know, understand what you're doing until you clear your way. You have to be able to feel clearly. You have to be able to feel clearly.
Right.
And that's your heart.
Feel in your heart. Integrate those energies. It's kind of like, we all know we can all read a book and study it and pass the test, but are we applying? The hard part's applying it actively daily, just like anything else that's healthy for us. But you can see the shift. Everyone's shifting and changing, and that's part of this whole thing with the COVID, is for us to be able to shift and slow down and go, oh, I need to spend time with myself and recognize this stuff coming up, right? Instead of projecting it out on everyone else. Because that's what we all are. We just want a healthy projector, right?
Yes.
We want a healthy projector.
Yes, and even when your projector's healthy, it doesn't mean you're going to get always the good, healthy projection back at you.
Right. But then you can
You
say,
just,
right, you have to
okay,
be
I'll
able to
walk through.
flip that switch and go, okay, so that person on the road that just irritated me or, got too close to me or whatever, a lot of people, if you're not in a more balanced place, you're going to assume, you're going to say, oh, they got too close to me. So therefore, they're in the wrong, it's every da 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 da. And then you might think that you're going to get all fired up and either you're going to pass them and give them the stare or you're going to try to get close. You're going to, what I mean? We all know people like that, right?
Yes. Or the finger, or start yelling.
Right.
You know how you look at them?
But you don't know what's going on in that person's life. You have no idea what's going on. But you assume the worst. That's that trigger.
That reminds me of Wayne Dyer, because I loved Wayne Dyer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he told this story. He would, the cookie thief was one of them, but this other one was about, and I'm just gonna make it quick. I'm not gonna tell the whole story. It was about these kids were acting ridiculous. And this person goes up. I mean, these people are watching these kids with this man, and they're ridiculous. And they're pissed. They're at an airport. These people are getting mad. They're so mad. How do you not control your kids? First of all, I don't know who can control their kids,
airport.
But yeah. So finally someone goes up to him and says, "What, are these your kids? What is the problem?" And the guy said, basically, "I'm really sorry. We just lost our mother, and I'm just kind of beside that." Boom! The whole thing shifts, right? You're watching this, and all of a sudden, you're not angry at this man. You have compassion for this man. And that is something that we just don't get. If you're looking at someone so mean to you, why? It has nothing to do with you.
Right.
Even if you look at them, it's nothing to do with you. They come at you from the place that they're at. And yes, understanding that makes it easier for you to let the energy flow by.
Right. And then you can see, why did you learn this pattern? Why are we repeating it? Or, what are you doing to repeat this over and over? Because you're just beating yourself up, making your own life miserable.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like, say, for instance, talking about the driver, like you said, easy flip, just like that would be like, so you pull up next to him and then you realize either it's an elderly person driving or whatever. You see that there is you see with your eyes, there's a reason, instead of being able to switch it with your mind.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I sent these messages to you about what we were going to do, I only heard one word. And I'm just like you. They'll chatter at me constantly. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, and blah, blah, blah. But all I heard was awareness. That's all I heard when I was typing that up. And I was like, okay. And I just let it go. I didn't really think about it until last night. I thought, let me think about this video we're doing tomorrow. And I thought, well, all I got was awareness. And then I said, oh, because this is what happens. Because I know this from personal experience. When you start to heal your heart, you open your heart to your abilities and you start practicing them. Your awareness is the key. Your awareness makes it so you go to the next ability and the next. I can't even name some of the things I do, and who cares? I don't need to.
Those are just labels, right?
Yeah. And it's the next thing and the next thing. And then you realize, like I realized that my whole life, and I think this is something that Essenes used to do. My whole life, I've always, we're healers. I've always played with energy. I've always been kind of the alchemist. And I would go ahead all the time. Like even when I was young, I would go ahead. I would know, like, tomorrow I need to call this person and try to get an interview with them. I would go ahead energetically. I would send the proper energy. I would feel it out, and I would figure out what kind of energy I needed to move forward. Awesome. Yeah. So I do, and when I drive, like, how you drive in windy roads, I always am like ahead enough that I can feel, is there an animal in the road? We live in Texas. Is there a crazy car flying at me, you know, that kind of thing. So it's awareness. Like I didn't know how to label it before. I didn't know exactly
That's
why.
a great example.
Yeah. Yeah. So you start with, you know, opening your mind, opening your heart, and you know, we talked about the mind heart synchronization, and I did that exercise, and that really helps things flow too, because then this one part of you that's always trying to screw things up is working with the part of you that holds all this power. Then you're like double powerful, right? So you get it all together, and then you start practicing what you can do. And I think people have an issue with, you know, I want to channel, but I don't hear anything. Well, what do you do? Do you feel? I started out with just this time with just feel. I used to see when I was young, and then I turned it off because long story, but yeah, overkill. It was overkill. So I had to start out with feeling, because I've always felt. I never turned that off. And you can feel, and then you can see from a feeling. It's like a sonar, you know. You can send your, like, I can go over to where Sarah is, and I can feel out, you know, what's going on.
No.
I know, I didn't.
That's a good one.
But I can do that. I've done too without knowing. Well, I did know. I was like, I wonder if I could just go over.
Right.
If you have a connection with someone, you know, when you do that as a healer.
Yes.
I can go over. I can feel my way around where someone is, or feel what their energy feels like. I think it's invasive, so I don't generally. I don't do it all the time, but yeah, things like that. You
like your spidey sense. I call it your spidey senses, right? We're in our lower self, our little self, whatever you want to call it, you know, our muggle self. We're just going by our five senses, but now we got to expand out and feel like a cat. You know, a cat has like all the way around. They just know, you know, they can be in the den of sleep and then feel something and go to the window and look out the window. They just have that expanded out, that expanded view. Right?
Yes. And so do we. Absolutely.
Absolutely. We all, and kids are great testimony. They know when they walk into the room where to go, what to do, who to associate with, everything. They kind of feel it out without communication, without the verbal.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, feeling, I think, is the best to start with, you know, just depending where you are, but to feel, because most of us are just on autopilot, just do. We're not being and feeling and slowing down to feel it. Maybe we've got a wall up because there's other things we don't want to feel, you know, so maybe that's
which goes back to healing the heart. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we both work with that. If anyone needs we both work with that.
So seeing that expanded view, then you can see it just like opens up more possibilities, because if you're right here, all you can see is right here. You can't see any other possibilities. And there's a whole sea of possibilities, right?
Yes.
But we can't, because we haven't expanded and opened our, and many of us are afraid, I'm getting right now, are to open our hearts because we've been hurt so much.
Yes.
But it doesn't work that way.
No.
It's like you
have to open it and let it be trampled on over and over again.
And be vulnerable and get in that place.
Yes, because as you heal it, I just want to throw this in here because it is important. As you heal these things, as you start to stand in your own power, you understand that no one can truly step on your heart, that there is no true separation, that, you know, you start to see the past relationships as what they were for you, and understand that you signed up for them. You know, it was something you put in your path. I want to learn this. I want to figure out how to, I don't know. I put my hand up for everything, I think. I was like, yeah,
I know,
give
right?
it to me 10 times, please, 10 times, not once, because I'm way freaking tougher than that.
And then the military was your frosting. That's right.
Right? So we do this. Yeah, Yeah, that is so funny. So we do this to ourselves because we want to grow, and we want to, I think, we want to be able to truly have compassion for others. When we are in the spiritual path and we take on all this stuff, we want the compassion. And I was told by, one of my guides that some of the nasty things that I took on were to help, because I've had plenty of lifetimes where I was just a caretaker to women who were treated bad, or children who were treated bad, and so it was the compassion thing. And I don't know how exactly it works, but it goes through. I mean, time isn't real. So what I'm experiencing here can affect everything I've done, and it makes the compassion open for you. So if you think about things from that point of view, you understand a little more why you would
why you raised your hand. Yes, compassion was going to heal the planet, because that's where we're going through so many different separations right now. Is that people got to get more compassionate feeling, and just accept people where they are in their journey too, and not go, well, if you do it, see it my way, or do it my way, or whatever. There is no magic pill. You have to feel it.
And there is no one real right way to get to where we're going. Everybody is different. Yeah.
Some people don't have a lot of baggage. They utilize their tools throughout their life.
Oh yeah.
It just depends. So that's where you gotta let go of the blame of this happening. And that was a big process for me, because I had some muck to clean up, right? And then if it comes up again, then there's still a little bit left.
Yes.
Takes you back into on that path again. You go, ooh, I don't like that dirt road anymore. Because I know I needed to travel that. I know I needed to travel that to be more compassionate and accepting of others where they are, how difficult it is, because we can see lots of people around us where they cycle over it and they just don't know how to jump off the merry-go-round.
Well, you've always been so judgmental, Sarah. I don't even know what to say. Every time I talk to you, I feel like I want to kind of close up, because Sarah she just looks at you. I'm just teasing.
I've always been pretty easygoing. But we all have our stuff. It depends what we've collected. So we can't compare to one person, because it just depends what you've taken on as your own, which really was everyone else's stuff. Right?
Yes.
But so as we heal, though, we heal everyone else's stuff. We're healing our process of that's the eternalness of us. It just keeps going.
Yes.
So we want to get into a better frame of mind and understanding how everything is working to help us, not to hinder us.
It's so funny, because we were doing this. I'm just right now, it just came to, we were doing this to talk about how to find your hidden abilities, but it went exactly the right way, because you know what? You have to work through things. You do. If you want to be able to use these abilities with integrity and love, you have to strengthen that heart muscle. You have to get yourself, and it's not about anyone else. It's about you. We always, I think that was one of my very final things that I finally got was, it's not about anyone else. It's only about you. It's only about you. And so
perception of it. Yeah.
Yes.
How you perceive the world.
You can't fix how anyone else sees the world. You can't.
And we see it everywhere. Like everyone's telling everybody else what to do. No, you got to work through it. You got to go through it. We already know it's going to be a better outcome, right? So just go with it. Once you kind of like pick up your feet, instead of like, I know I've done it many a time, so dragging my feet, like Fred Flintstone. No. And that's what hurts, because you're riding up against something that doesn't feel good to you. That's not you're not honoring yourself. When it feels
you're resisting it by pushing it away.
So that's not opening up your heart. We're closing it off because we don't want to be hurt. So we're all like in a different, trying to switch timelines right now. We're switching railroad tracks. That's where everyone's at and going,
I was told
I
that
don't
too.
want to
That's so
ride on that.
funny.
Yeah, I don't want to ride on that
Yeah.
train over there. You know, I want to be over on that train. What feels good. That's feel good energy. Feel good energy.
And I
So
think one of the biggest things for this is, I don't mean to cut you off, but
go ahead. No,
it just came to me.
sure.
Um, for handling these things, for healing these things, is self-trust. We have to learn to trust ourselves. And I just want to say, you designed this. It's your design. Even if you don't understand it, even if it's subconscious, you designed this. So you have to learn to trust yourself. You are amazing and you know what you can handle. So self-trust is really
Right.
important.
Right. Because we're all seeking like the outside validation or,
Mm-hmm.
extra whatever, someone else to fix it. Because many of us were raised that way, you know.
Yeah.
And I
Mm-hmm.
went through the whole I'm the fixer thing, right? Then you realize that
You're
even if you
not.
do, I'm not. And then sometimes that's really more enabling someone from learning their own experience, right? That's like,
Yes.
it's like doing all their math work for them, for a teenager, all their math homework. And then they go to take their test and they don't even know how, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Sure, they got 100 on their homework, but then they can't pass their test because they,
Well, and they don't even try, because if you're fixing stuff for people, let's face
sure,
it,
it's enabling
why
them.
try? Why bother? Yeah.
Right. So it's that fine
Yeah,
line of figuring out what's best for you. It's just there's a lot of emotions that we have to go through on every memory or situation or trigger that's going to come
mm-hmm.
up, and you're going to, where's this coming from? And for me, since both of us, are great with visionary, you can even go into a memory and go, oh yeah, I remember this going through this time, and it's going to come right up. It'll come right to you as if it's happening right now.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so try to look at it from more expanded view. Okay, so if you felt this way as a 6-year-old, try not to go back into that same 6-year-old feeling. Go from how wise you are now. You had to go through this experience, step in your own power, whatever it is. And I guarantee you those adults in that scenario are seeing a different perspective anyway. A
Oh
lot of
yeah.
us, yeah. Because we're all raised with report cards. We have to earn everything growing up. Hopefully
Mm-hmm.
we're getting out of that right now because of the homeschooling, and everything else. But we had to earn everything externally to get that
Mm-hmm.
love, right? So we're breaking those patterns. Many of us are jumping that track now and finding that didn't work for us. We're
Yeah,
still looking for
and
external.
a lot of times it does go, I cover that in the workshop. If you come to the workshop, a lot of time it does go back. You can trace most things back to a childhood thing. And I find, as far as me and anyone I've ever worked with, that is, if you go all the way to the root, it's a root. It's like pulling the root out when you
Mhm.
handle it properly. And I think if you don't pull the root out, that you're going to come back to it again,
Yeah.
because
And
it's
it's
still
right.
there.
Yep. And it's okay if you have to go back. You're going
Yeah.
to
Oh
know.
yeah.
You feel through it. So don't punish yourself to try to,
No,
I
no,
just
no, no,
don't understand.
no.
Because a lot of people do, right? I don't understand. Well, what comes up? Feel what's coming up. What memory's coming up? Because everyone can remember things, right?
Yeah,
We're
well,
just
I
one big
don't see.
recorder.
I don't remember a lot of things from childhood, but I can still. There's still other ways you can get
Feeling,
there.
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel my
Other
way
ways you
there.
can get there.
So, but
Um,
all right. What else do you have in notes? I know
um,
you have more notes.
See, we're talking about the spiritual heart. A lot of people are going to associate what is the spiritual heart versus the physical heart. But still, it's just the portal, like you talked about, right? Expanding it, taking your slow breaths, dropping, and we're talking about the breathing. Wasn't that in our text back and forth about the breathing techniques? Just slowing down, letting if a thought comes through, it could be anything from a worry, concern, things to do, whatever. Your monkey mind. Just let it come in and go out. Try not to hold it there, because then you're just pulled right out of it and you're trying to force it. So that just takes practice, whether you got to start with 1 minute, to build up to 5 minutes, whatever it is, one song, whatever it is, allow it to flow so it doesn't catch. Shouldn't be a catch. You've got to load and just allow it, just those thoughts to pass through. All that mindful, like monkey mind stuff that your expectations you put on yourself. because you don't want to deal with your own stuff, really is what it is. Like there's that subliminal stuff going through, right? So opening up, stretching, just doing stretches to open up your chest cavity helps with the breathing too. Many people, including me too, when we get nervous or there's things going on, we do more shallow breathing. You can tell.
Yeah.
Like when someone's talking, is it shallow breathing? Is it slow breathing? Pay attention to that. You know, if you've never thought about it, take time out. Why am I breathing so heavily? What's going on? You know, are you anxious? It's kind of like we pay attention with our kids, but not with ourselves. So that's a big one. Also, you can visualize sending healing energy to your chakras to help balance. You'll know where you feel it. So when you're in your breathing, you know, just even a guided meditation off YouTube, just kind of feel into it and go, where do I feel it in my body? Where physically in my body do I feel it? Then explore that. Where is it coming from? Then you may have a memory or a thought or a feeling of not being heard as a child. Something may come up. Can expand on that and go, oh, that's what I'm feeling right now. I feel like I don't have a voice in my home. Something like that. And so that's more expanding. So, but there's all different ways and all different tools. Sometimes you just need to figure out what works for you that day, that week, that month. You'll just know when you feel more peace, you know, if you have more of an expanded view. I don't want to say opinionated, but it really, you know what I mean? You won't, you'll be less opinionated. You'll just follow your guidance.
I think so, yeah.
Just follow your guidance and go, yeah, I don't even want to go there. It's not that it doesn't exist, but it's not a trigger. Okay. So we all have our things.
Yeah. And then you get to a point where I remember when I started, I'm not really judgmental, so I can see all sides of something, and people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They just want you to hear their side.
And right. And be on their side to validate it.
Yeah,
right.
To validate it.
So you just listen, be a good listener. Right. Because
And
we've
say,
all been there already. We've been there
Yeah.
ourselves too. So I know. Right. And then because we want someone to reinforce us. So we stay on that that train track, that bumpy track. Right. We want no, I want the last word. I'm going to have the last word too. Not maybe you shouldn't have the last word. So you
I know.
pay attention to how it feels in your body. And so up on the higher track, and I was too, everything out there. Well, I'll have more peace if this gets resolved or if this is going on, whatever, but really it's not that way. You got to really work on
You have to hold the peace. Yes.
No matter what's going on out there, no matter what.
And that is the biggest challenge, right? That's the prize too.
That's the prize.
Yeah,
everyone has in different places. So comparing you to someone else, you don't want to do that either. Just feel good.
No.
Just feel good, and in turn, it helps everyone around you. It'll help their energy because they'll get enveloped in your energy remotely or not, or in person. So
are you enveloping me?
I am. So what else? Working through and processing, that's a whole nother area of that. Some people, it's good for them to be able to vocalize it, you know, whether they're talking to their spirit guides, talking to a counselor, whether they're writing out their emotions and feelings or using art. Some need other forms to release it because they haven't been taught or not utilizing, you know, healthy ways to release it. Some people tend to use external things to help kind of like numb themselves. So that's something else to kind of look at, you know, and we all have
alcohol, pot,
chocolate,
food.
Kind of look at it and go, what am I avoiding or what am I covering up? What is this feeling underneath it? There's always a feeling or emotion under everything. It's not that you have to find the number one, but just explore it. You know, it could be a pattern. It could be something you just learn from your parents too, that you're just doing the same thing and you're not even realizing it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So breaking patterns, we're all being asked to break unhealthy patterns. I'm not saying unhealthy. I'm talking about mentally unhealthy, spiritually unhealthy. To detach.
That is a big thing right now. I think it's very, And I mean, maybe it's the energy going around right now, but it's just that has been very strong, and that's something that I've just recently done. And you don't even realize how much you are circulating these thought patterns, and they're lies. And you're letting yourself lie to yourself. And so when you finally examine it, even if it's small things, it is still getting in your way. You're in your own way with that, right?
Yeah,
Go on. I just
it
wanted to
is.
add that.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
don't even, until you go in there and explore it, you don't even realize that. It's that freeing, those freeing feelings when something is done. It's kind of like, say, tax season, say, for instance, something random that we all can relate to. Once you get your taxes done, it's like it's a relief and a release, because it feels like such a burden. Well, unless you're a tax accountant, whatever. But it's a burden, a release once you have it done. It's like, whew, glad that's behind me.
I think it's a burden for tax accountants too. I did
Well, it depends how
taxes
much to
once
charge it.
too.
Yeah, did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So think of it that way. So like this is like an everyday. If you can look at it, I like to call it like do your life review when you put your head down on the pillow. Take a few minutes beforehand, or maybe when you're bathing, whatever, or when you lay down, and just say, let me just kind of work through that process the day. What do I need to release, or what do I need to like set aside and say, oh yeah, I could have done that better, whatever. So you're not waking up in the middle of the night fretting over things and amplifying things and turning things into even bigger issues when they could have been resolved through your mindfulness. So that's also an important one. And then it just becomes a routine. So you don't have this 4 o'clock calling of like, oh no, my world's all messed up.
I think it becomes so you start cleaning yourself up, and then I think a lot of people get to the point where right when it's happening, you'll see it, you'll notice it, you'll understand it, and you'll stop it. You'll say, you know what? I don't even know why I'm doing that. I don't feel that way. Just drop it. I'm not going to let that make me and bring my blood pressure up and all this stuff, because
Right. Because some people, I'm going to say some people, but we all know people, and we've all been there. When you get amped up, it's like your cortisol is just running high, and then it's just that just seems to be your normal speed. So you don't know how unhealthy that is until you've been able to release it and you feel more peace and go, oh, I didn't realize how stressed out I was, how much stress I created in myself. Not just the external things, but there's a reason. If you're working too hard and taking on, there's reasons, there's emotional reasons for everything, to kind of like look in there and observe, right? So the planet universe is supporting us to all kind of like get that expanded view. Make changes. We know lots of people are changing their job, they're changing relationships. Things are changing for the better. Sometimes we might have to take 5 steps to get there. Others can just take 1 step, but we're all changing.
I'm going to talk to you after this, because that laugh in there, you're going to tell me about who's changing relationships. There's something. I know there's something.
There's always something.
I know.
Or without getting in each other's business. But so it's kind of this an opportunity. It's kind of like a free zone. This is what we're given. So we can't say, oh, I've got too much. I've got to be here and I got to do this. And you wouldn't believe how much I have to do today. Right? No. Let's reevaluate. Slow down. Let's get on a different train track. And then when you feel like you're falling off, reevaluate yourself, kind of touch base, do some exercising, breathing intentions, different things to open up that heart, feel good about yourself again, get back on that higher train and go, all's good. All's good. Maybe not out there, but I'm not out there letting out there impact me. Yeah, I want to feel it here and feel good. I want to be able to ride on the train, not be running after the train, right?
Wait for me.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think that was awesome. It went a completely different way.
Sure. And I said that in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
I said, watch, we're going to go different. We took a different train track. We did the split track.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was, but I think it was just we just felt what was needed and we went with it, and it was good. It was
Yeah.
really good.
Just take on your own stuff. You don't need to take on everyone else's stuff and try to fix everyone out there. Sometimes that's just a way to deflect from our own.
Yes.
You know? Can't control a lot of that out there. We can only control our emotional body.
Our reactions and our emotional body. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we hope that you all appreciated it and learned something, got something from it. I'll put information below for the workshop and whatever. Sarah's web, or what do you call it? Well, I'll put your website in too. Yeah, and your Facebook group, Doing Grief Differently with Adam and Sarah. We love you all.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Wait. I can never, you know what? That's on there too.